actually come on camera.
Are we officially using our new computer?
No, this is my old computer.
No, really. Didn't you get a new one a little while ago?
I
Right?
did.
Okay. Hopefully it's working.
Never. Uh, it's kind of lost.
Oh no.
But guess what? We're live.
Yay!
And here we are live for Triple T number 168 on March 18th, 2025. It's been a week, but here we are. I'm still waking up above ground breathing. That's a good start.
God, thank goodness.
Yes.
What a way to really spin it.
For those of you joining us for the very first time or watching the recording for the very first time, my name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with no, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of asking lots of questions and helping people find the solutions for the challenges that they are dealing with. I get the privilege of helping people with depression, anxiety, phobias, grief, do a lot of different trainings and teachings. I help people with relationships, money blockages. What am I missing? Yes, all of that. About got my restaurant server syllabus completed, ready to go out and get that going. Just decided I'm also going to put together a training for our law enforcement and EMT. So if you know anybody in that department and you're still friends with
That's exciting.
them, let them know. I do have a website, thetswb.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. That is what it stands for. Don't care what you find on the internet. In fact, don't look it up. Just trust me. What else we got? I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. That is your opportunity for no charge. That's right, it's free. 30 minutes to chat with me, to go over any challenges or setbacks or anything you want to talk about. My promise to you is if I feel like I'm a good fit, I will let you know. Also, if I feel like we are not a fit, I will let you know in the most gracious way and do my best to find the right person to get you the solutions that you are looking for. For those of you on YouTube, hi Mom. That's right, my mom likes to watch her boy, her little boy of 6'4" on here. And for those of you that are also joining us on YouTube or watching the recording on YouTube, please do me all the YouTube favors. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave comments, share these videos with others. Not for my glory, but I'm hoping that there will be some nugget of information that can help somebody out there. That is the reason that we've been doing this for 168 consecutive Tuesdays in a row. I guess it's time to introduce the tie of the week. Yes, I started this January of 24, and we're still going strong. This week, bringing you a little Taz, because that is how I'm feeling about the jackhat that took over my Facebook account and is messing things up. I'd like to send my little buddy here on them. So, little Taz for your weekly enjoyment. And yes, that's right. For those of you that are friends of mine on Facebook, that is no longer me. That is a fake on there. And no, I did not get a certificate in crypto. No, I am not contacting you about crypto. No, I personally did not unfriend my wife. I did not block or unfriend any of you. They they had no idea how to run Motivational Monday or Friday Funnies, so they deleted them all. So, yeah. On top of that, I could use something good. Tell me something good. Who's got something to share with me from the last 7 days? Tell me something good. Holly.
See if you can hear me okay. I actually, yeah, all week long, our discussion that we had last week about the why me discussion has really been sticking with me. Focusing on the why me for the good things, and also the just because I don't know the reason doesn't mean there isn't a reason, and also especially how is this lucky for me? So one example I'll give where it really helped, uh, when I was driving home this morning, there was a really wet snowstorm, and I those are kind of my least favorite because I feel like I always get soaked. But as I was driving home, I realized this is probably the safest drive I've had in a long time, and it's because of the weight of the snow because it's all wet. And so it's making sure that, for those who don't know, there are actually fewer accidents in snow than not in snow, bizarrely. So the whole time I was going home and I was thinking, isn't it lucky that I have this snow that's heavy that's making sure that I stay safe? So anyway, it was a very, very helpful discussion, and it definitely stuck with me all week.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Very cool. Anybody else? Yes, no, maybe so? Or is it time to explain how Triple T works?
I have.
What's that?
I think Mike was going to say something.
Yes, please.
Okay. Um, oh, I have a bit of a win, which is um, being part of this group helped me become more aware of the blessings around me. The car that I'm driving, the fuel that someone else makes that I can put in it, and the technology that I hold in my hand that I'm able to communicate with all of you fine folks and everyone else on YouTube world. And really changed my focus from the slog of trying to do self-improvement and the whole I'm bad, need to change to, you know what? Um, I have been doing really well. I have all of these beautiful things that are around me, and why is my 90% of my mind always focusing on the 3% of crap that's in my life? And so I step back and I'm able to view more of the flowers and the rest of the blessings that are around me. So I want to reach out to you and thank you for everything that you're doing and how you've changed my life.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, my friend. Yes, isn't it amazing how when you change your focus, or as Wayne Dyer was so famous for saying, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it sounds like just a simple play on words. But when you start looking for the good stuff, you're like, wow, where'd this stuff all come from? It's always been there. Always been there. Lenora.
I love that you said that, Mike. And I'm going to actually, the one, especially the one quote that you just shared, TJ, with Wayne Dyer. I know your Facebook account was down, but I've always been inspired by your Motivational Mondays. So I finally actually did Motivational Mondays on my Facebook page, which was really a lot of fun. And I tagged people in the Triple T tribe to post things on social media. So that was really a lot of fun. And the one that I had posted was nothing changes if nothing changes. I
Yes.
feel like goes right hand in hand with the one by Wayne Dyer. Hi, Mark. And absolutely love both of those quotes because I find them really, really impactful and they're such a fun play on words.
Yep, yep. Well, we're doing the wins of the week. Mark, got anything to share? If not, cool. Hey, we're here. For those of you that are joining for the very first time or watching for the very first time, the way Triple T works, the first hour, I will do my best to get through 3 topics that have been given to me out of the ether, we'll call it, the squirrels and God and higher powers and all the above. And the second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can ask a question, bring up a topic, and I let anybody on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And when everybody's given their input, if I feel like there's anything else that I can offer, that's when I give my 2 centavos. So, unless anybody else has anything to add quickly, it's time for the topics of the week. This week's topics: friendship evolution, gossip informer, and complementary strength. Jumping right into friendship evolution. Oh my. This is a whole lot of different things all tuned into one. But I know that if you are a human being over the age of, what would you say, 5, you've had some friendships that have changed a bit, including your imaginary friend and your bird friend and your pet friend and all of the above. But I'm also going to include the friend that lives up in here, in our brain, that voice, the friend being the body that we are inside of, and how those relationships can also change. And for those of us here that are agents of change, we know that helping our clients with the evolution of that friendship, whether it be the voice in our head, the vision of who we are, the vision of our body, our relationships with our selected other human being or the above, it can be a tricky ride. And learning how to manage that is a very important skill. Very important skill. Most of the people that I get to deal with are having a major struggle with the evolution of friendship, whether, with a number of things in their life. And for some of them, it is as simple as life. And they're no longer friends. And as Mike was gracious enough to point out, sometimes it's simply learning things like how to be grateful for what's around us. Realizing that there is always something that you can be grateful for yourself, for your friends, for your friendship with food, your friendship with all sorts of stuff. I think part of the advantage or the challenge is recognizing where you're at in that relationship. I think so many people just assume we were friends once, so we'll be friends forever. It's going to be wonderful. And then that human part shows up. And you're like, what the what? And it's navigating through that process of where you used to be, where you currently are, and where you want to be in the future. Any ahas, thoughts, epiphanies, comments on this so far?
I hilariously thought that I would be friends with the people that I was friends with my entire life. I didn't realize that my friends were going to change until probably after graduate school. Like I knew I had my high school friends, I knew I had my college friends, and then I had to make a whole new set of friends, and then those friends continue to evolve. It's very, very interesting. You are all part of my tribe, and I do consider my close friends. So thank you for being a part of my life.
Thank you for being here as well. And then while you were saying that, be with you in just a sec, Holly. The other funny part about the whole growing up thing is when your friends start to date, and then when your friends start to get married and have kiddos, and then they're gone, disappear, because they're in that we now have children club, and you don't, so you wouldn't really understand. Holly.
I have to laugh. My computer has a mind of its own. It put my hand up for me, but I do have stuff I can say. Um, so this is an absolutely fascinating topic. Talking about the friend in your head and your friend with food and your friend with, your living space, your friend with all those things completely changed this entire topic for me because I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm getting better about if somebody violates my boundaries, about cutting them out of my life. I'm getting better, that was and I also am pretty good about not gossiping. But then I was thinking, do I gossip in my head? Do I gossip, or do I can't cut myself off. That's not a good thing. And then one of the thoughts that came to my mind was this concept of, yes, there are times that some people are only meant to be in your life for a season. But something a lot of people forget is every really good friendship I've ever had to go through a rough patch. Because I think what happens a lot of times is we get into a relationship and we see the good and we want to keep the good. And most people start ignoring maybe some of the less desirable parts, which is part of what we do as human beings. But at a certain point, you swept so much under the carpet that at some point you have to kind of sit down and have those difficult discussions if you want the friendship to consider or to continue. Sorry, I could totally talk today, I swear. And so I was just thinking, it's not going to be right. Some friendships can't survive the difficult talk, and some friendships never are willing to even do the difficult talk. But I was thinking about, for the friends that are worth it, the difficult talk is worth it.
Yep.
And that also is true with that friend in your head. And it's okay. Just because you have a difficult talk doesn't mean that your friendship sucks. In fact, it means the opposite. It means you care enough about that relationship to be willing to put the work in, to be willing to talk about the uncomfortable things, and to be willing to negotiate and to go through, look at your shadow. You have your shadow self, but you also have a shadow side of every relationship as well. And if you want it to survive, if you want it to be meaningful, if you want to go to the next level, that's what it takes. So anyway, I'm still having a bunch of downloads, but that was kind of my first thoughts.
As always, so thankful for you sharing. And while you were sharing that, one of my squirrels, and for those of you who are new to Triple T, yes, my squirrels have squirrels who know squirrels that bring in squirrels. And one of my squirrels brought in the idea of we have to realize that people are put into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lesson. And when you understand that, it makes it much easier to look at if somebody I've had people if you know me or if you've met me, you know I have met many people. And with all the traveling that I've done and all the places that I've lived, I have had many friendships. And some of them are still going strong, and some of them were flash in the pan. And there was a time when it bothered me when things were like, I really enjoyed that person, and then they just disappeared. And I wish I could give credit to the person that let me understand. Again, people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lesson. And when you think back to some of the people that you miss, pick one. Mark.
Yeah, squirrel arrived with a message, and he was saying that there's an old saying, whole friend, half friend, unfriend. And of course, Meta, took over that concept of unfriending people. But I saw a meme one time on Facebook. It said when toxic people unfriend you, it's like the trash taking itself out.
Yes. And most likely there's probably a lesson attached to that one. And if you're old enough, back in the day when we would unfriend somebody, we'd scribble their picture out of our yearbook. You're like, yeah, you suck. Unfriend. But when we start thinking about the friends that we can't do that to, like the voices in our head or who we see in the mirror, sometimes we have to reach out and get some help, some understanding, because those are two of the friends that we live with our whole life. And I've had people that I've had to walk away from, and that's life. And I've had some people walk away from me, but when I lay down at night, this person's still up there saying all sorts of stuff. And sometimes it is hilarious. Ask my wife. She doesn't get the humor quite as good as I do, but I'll be laying there and I'll just start laughing because that friend of mine up in my head will say something that is just hilarious, and I can't help but enjoy it. And then there are days when I'm walking around and people should probably just leave me alone because me and my friend up there are having some dark discussions about the ways of the world. And that's also part of the human experience. And I know that there are a number of people that the friend in their head is so vicious about everything. Nothing is ever good enough. Good enough is not good enough. Lenora.
Oh, how I love to talk about the voices in my head. Oh, they're so fun. I think that's been one of the best skills. And to anybody who has an inner critic and one that they seem to not have the best handle on, I highly, highly, highly recommend reaching out to anybody in this group and definitely TJ, because sorting through my inner critic has quite literally been life changing for me. And being able to question my own thoughts, as in, who said that? When did I decide that? I learned so much from these meetups, so many things, and so many people's perspectives on how I was able to navigate something. It has truly, truly made all of the difference. So I highly recommend it.
Thank you for those
You're
kind
welcome.
words. And yes,
Perfect.
you've done some amazing work. And you've helped a vast number of people yourself. So I get to endorse you as well.
Ta-da!
Anybody else got any comments they want to share on this wonderful topic? Yes, no? Then I think we will move into or transition or segue into the next one, Gossip Informer. Now, I'm pretty sure at this point in our life, we've all at least had that one person that you knew that you didn't tell anything to unless you wanted everybody else to know. The best part about it was if you wanted everybody else to know, all you had to do was let that person know that, hey, this is a secret. Don't tell anybody. Because then you know that you don't have to call everybody up. They'll be kind enough to help you out. This strategy also has been used for decades to shed light on the snitches, the informers, the gossipers, by giving them a very specific incorrect piece of information to see how and where that information would land, and they knew where it started. One of the reason I brought this up is it's right back to the kind of friendship voice in our head, understanding that a lot of the conversations that happen up there are merely a form of gossip. Did you hear what so-and-so said? Or I heard this on the news. Or somebody said something about somebody. And we get this up in here, and pretty soon all of the personalities in our head start sharing that information as well. And what do we know about gossip? Well, they also can call it the grapevine. You start off with this statement here, and by the time it's gone through enough people, the statement that ends up out here isn't even remotely close. And yet it's being spread. It's kind of like our memories. A lot of clients that I've worked with, when we've done regression, found out that some of their beliefs were based on memories that weren't even correctly recorded. And yet they've been living life as though that's exactly how it happened. I saw the whole thing. It came and it did, and it was blue. And then the recording, the actual video pops up, and it actually came this direction and it was red. Kind of like music lyrics that we have sang incorrectly for how long until they pop up on the TV screen and you're singing along and all of a sudden you're like, that's what the words are? Well, that completely changed the song. And so with the Gossip Informer, we also have a way of recognizing who is spreading misinformation in our head. We can also use that informer to spread information that we want, quote unquote, leaked out. Now, if any of you have ever seen the TV show, and I just had Mayberry?
Yes, Mayberry.
Mayberry, yes. My squirrels were running so fast that one got in front of the sign. Mayberry. Kind of where I grew up. My grandmother actually wrote the gossip column for the local newspaper. She was fake book before there was fake book. For all the important information that you needed. And when you come from a town of 187 people, it doesn't take long for information to saturate the town. And so people there learned who to be tight-lipped around. Like I say, unless, of course, you wanted that information spread quicker than you could do it, then you would just call up one person, tell them it was a secret, and before you could hang up the phone and walk 3 blocks downtown, somebody from downtown was sharing your information with you. Any comments or input on this so far?
There was once a time where I finally had said, and this is early in graduate school, where I had said, I'm done with drama. And I decided to stop feeding it. I decided to stop partaking it. I decided to stop gossiping, like, oh, so what did you hear? Like, it was just too much. And I never realized that as I was creating arguments in my head, I was feeding my own drama. And some of those voices could really, take off and go and have a really good fight. And I'm thinking, and I still catch myself doing this. And I'm like, of all the things I could be thinking about, why am I thinking about this? What do I need to say? And I try to be the detective of it. And it can be very frustrating because you're the one in here and you got to figure out how to manage that mischief, to say the least.
Absolutely. And a squirrel came up and reminded me of something that growing up that way taught me. If somebody's willing to share a secret with you about somebody else that was said to them in trust, why in the world would you tell somebody like that anything that you don't want spread around? And they get kind of mad after a while because you won't dish anything. Well, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want anybody to know. Well, I'm offended. Well, good. You should be. because you're the one that told me all the scoop on so and so. Well, it was true. Was it? And did they tell you to tell me, or did you decide on your own? Big difference. And so there's strength in keeping secrets. Any other ahas, inputs? Holly.
This is an interesting conversation again. One of the thoughts that keeps popping in my head is because I tried to go into why do people gossip, and I will say for me, it's never really been my default. So it's kind of, and I'm not saying that to say, oh, look, I'm so much better than everybody else, or, obviously not. But there is one thought that came into my mind too, is because there's clearly two sides to this. One is if somebody trusts you with a secret, are you keeping it secret? But I was thinking not all gossip is things people were told to keep secret as well. And I was thinking there's kind of two kinds of gossipers I've known in my life. Those that, want to tell everybody all the bad stuff, and those who want to tell everybody all the good stuff. And I was just thinking about, if you are going to be a gossip, are you the kind that wants to tell the good stuff? Is it that you're so excited about all the wonderful things you know about people that you want to share all that stuff? Or is it, no, I'm the kind of person that just, I want to feel superior to everybody else. And I was thinking about, emotional ruminating as well. Is this, I want to just sit around and ruminate constantly? Or do I want to focus on, like I said, all the good stuff? So anyway, just a thought.
Absolutely.
I love that, Holly. That was so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Love that you said gossip about the good stuff. Oh my God. That is a huge reframe. And I think people like to gossip very much because they don't, ultimately it's energy and it builds energy, and they get to have this flood of energy. And whether it's the authority over I'm better than them, and they said this, and come on my team and gang up and be angry with me. It's so much energy that goes into it, which is why I think people really love to do it. And if you look at anything in the media, everybody's always jockeying for energy and attention. And there are plenty of people what's hysterical is I don't feed that. So there are plenty of people who have called me in the past, like, shouldn't you be so mad at her? Da, da, da. And people do not call me to talk about stuff like that. It's just, I don't hear about it, because when somebody's in that spin cycle of wanting to complain, I don't feed it. And I think you mentioned you said this so beautifully a couple of times, and I forget, and I feel like you're probably getting the idea on how you normally say this, and it's not coming to me fast enough. But the entire point is, when you don't feed it, people will stop coming to you with it because they're not getting high from you. You're not giving them that attention. I think you call it enabling. Hopefully you're remembering the word that you use. And that has been a huge, huge, huge life changer.
It's interesting when you don't play along with the major gossipers, how quickly they can either turn on you or avoid you. As you pointed out, you're now fine. And it reminded me of a story I've told a number of times about my best friend's Grandpa Hugh, who lived kitty corner from us. And Grandpa Hugh had stories for days and days about all the things he's done and all the places he's gone. And a lot of people in my tiny little town that I grew up in would make fun of Grandpa Hugh. Oh, don't get him started, man. He'll talk your ear off till he'll Well, one day, Grandpa Hugh was telling me one of his fascinating stories. And about halfway through the story, he just kind of stopped. And I knew he was only halfway through because I'd heard the story a couple of times. But it was a really good story. But he stopped about halfway through and he said, "You know, I know that people in this town make fun of all the stories that I have. But when you get to be my age, if you can't talk about yourself and the adventures and the things that you've done, all you got left is to talk about what your neighbors are doing. So live a life that is so full of adventure and awesome stories that when you get to be my age, you can talk about yourself instead of what your neighbors are doing." And that stuck with me for, I mean, it was just, and I don't remember what age I was. I just remember going, "That's deep. Wow."
What's hysterical is I remember you saying that one of the very first times, like early on in Triple T, and it has stuck with me through the years too.
Yeah, it just, and at his funeral, I got up and told that story, and everybody was like, "Yes, Grandpa Hugh." And so I've been doing my part to try and live a life to collect enough adventures and memories and knowledge that I can talk about stuff without having to talk about other people disparagingly. I've got plenty of people I can talk about to help people out. And that's the kind of gossip that I like Holly pointed out. Good gossip. Mark.
I think you're halfway there, TJ, because you know, people are already saying about don't get him started. They already say that about you.
Yeah, the Triple T is part of it. I mean, 168 of these where I can, uh, you get me up and running, and I can I can talk and teach for hours.
Good, you are so good.
So, any other comments, additions before we move on to the final topic? Make it all three tonight without the big bad rush. Then we'll move in. Complementary strength. And this came from an Instagram reel that was sent to me. Yes, I still have my Instagram account for a while, who knows. Um, and it was about relationships, and it actually helped. I brought this concept up to a couple of my relationship clients since, and it's under the concept that when you're looking for a partner, you want strength. You want a strong partner. And it's not the kind of strength that shows up in a gym, although it could be construed into that setting. It's the strength of where you lack certain things, you want a partner that is strong in that field. If you both like to eat, but one is a cook, isn't it nice to have a partner that is a great cook? If you are good at building stuff, but you're not so good at finances, isn't it nice to find a partner who is really good with finances? And it's recognizing we're just going to go along and call them weaknesses. And being well aware of your strengths. And the saying is always out there, opposites attract. But I'm finding out a lot of times the opposites aren't complementary to each other. You'll get people that are so opposite that they don't even really offer proper strengths for what their partner needs. Along with that, it's there are certain places where you would like to have the same strengths, especially in the love languages. If one of the things I work with my clients on is having them A, understand all the love languages, B, understanding what their love language order is, so that they can find that in a partner. But then there will also be, when we do the triple P, I have them write down all of the strengths and weaknesses of a potential partner, things they want, things they don't want. When they get that all written down, that's when they take a good hard look in the mirror and write down their strengths and weaknesses and what they can work on. But that workflow, that work page also allows them to see what are some of their weaknesses that they don't necessarily need to have, but it would be a complementary strength, a desirable complementary strength in a partner. Any insights, comments, epiphanies on this so far?
I will add a quick side note that the better you know your love language, the better you can help yourself. For example, as some of you may have already guessed who know me, I'm really word sensitive. So words carry a lot of weight for me. And if I have an inner critic that's beating me up inside, it makes it a whole lot worse. So really deeply understand your love language and how you receive your love language. Especially a couple weeks ago, we talked about the self-care, the self-love love languages, which I had no idea there were. And me and Holly found a ton of insights on them. And that was very, very helpful for me, especially when it came to hearing the voices and knowing which ones were setting me off and then being able to question them. I know it wasn't quite directed to Triple T, but it was still really helpful.
And I'm glad you shared that. Mark.
Yeah, a thought occurred to me quite a while back that talking about the love language, could people have different expressive and receptive love languages? Sometimes again, the question just came up, and again, I haven't quite resolved it, but I think people can have, again, it's men, to self-disclose. I love to find the perfect gift. I love to see the joy on a person's face when I get that absolutely perfect gift. But I'm not a good gift receiver. I get I get a little embarrassed, and so expressively, that could be, one of my stronger love languages. I love seeking out, that perfect gift, something was mentioned in July and then it's under the tree on Christmas morning, and my wife's like, "How'd you know I wanted that?" I pay attention, but anything that I get, I don't know, I just feel a little, I don't know if it goes all the way to unworthy, but I'm just not a good gift receiver. Okay. So I think in terms of the love languages, I think people can have a different expressive love language and a different receptive love language.
I am so glad you brought that up. You are spot on. And when we talked about it last time, um, I pointed out that watch how not only yourself but other people are offended easily with items from love languages. If a person's primary love language is words of affirmation, that can also be their kryptonite. Words, as Lenora pointed out, for somebody who their love language is words of affirmation, words are very powerful double-edged sword. Lift you up, make you feel better, tear you down and destroy you easily. Gifts, as you pointed out, for some people that I've known personally, if giving gifts are their love language, they also some of them put a ton of meaning to having gifts given to them, remembering their birthday, remembering all of these things. Acts of service. People that, if acts of service are their top love language, when things aren't done for them because they expected to, because that's what they would do, it gets to them. Well, I just don't understand why he just won't do this. I do it all the time. Well, that's your love language. And it's the misunderstanding of what their love language is. And that's where the importance of understanding what they are and being able to recognize it in other people is a really good trait to have. Lenora.
I wanted to help elaborate on words of affirmation. So, for example, yeah, I'm a wordy person and I talk a ton. When people use words against me, for example, make my blood boil. I've gotten better at calming down and I do not slam doors to this day. So we're in good shape. But if I've told somebody something in a vulnerable state or I've told somebody something in confidence and they spin it back on me and use it to shame me, guilt me, or manipulate me, that's a big one for me. So it makes a lot of sense when I don't tell people very much. So people will say, "What's new?" And I'll give a very general overview because I don't want it coming back to me, or being used against me. So that's one of my boundaries, that quite literally the better you know me, it depends on how much I will actually still share with you. Because if I don't trust that you'll use it against me, I won't tell you.
Yep, that gossip informer. Mark.
Yeah, I was thinking about the topic when you mentioned it, complementary strengths, and sometimes you can have competing strengths. In fact, Freemasonry taught me that if there is any competition that exists, it should be who can best work and best agree, and that could be That's the only competition that should exist.
Great,
Sometimes,
great
it's not
insight.
like, yeah, not a doesn't have to be a complementary strength, but it can be a competing strength, and that if it's framed the right way.
Correct. Absolutely. Same reason that they intertwine rope. Holly.
Man, so many thoughts going through my head right now. Um, First of all, on the love languages side, one of the things popping into my head is, I mean, I'm loving this idea of, giving in our love language and in their love language, receiving whatever. And I was thinking, we can hurt each other by, first of all, just refusing to fulfill somebody's need and starving them to death, but also by taking their need and swapping it to the opposite, no matter what it is. I thought that was an absolutely fascinating. But I was also thinking about the fact that in order to receive love, it requires being vulnerable. And there are people it's right to be vulnerable with, and people maybe that it's not. This idea, I think it's Brene Brown who talks about proactive vulnerability, and basically, be a little bit vulnerable with somebody and test and see what they do with it. And the people who do good things with that, reward them, trust them more. And the people who, it doesn't even necessarily mean that they're a bad person. Maybe they're just immature, emotionally immature, and they don't understand the power that they have, and they don't understand what they're doing yet. But, how many times do we maybe think that we're being starved of affection, and we're not being starved? We're just not opening ourselves up to receive it. We're so closed off and we're not willing to be vulnerable that we don't even realize somebody is giving us, whether it's words of affirmation or they're trying to give us physical touch or they're trying to give us, acts of service. And we are just refusing to receive it because we don't want to be vulnerable like that. And then also just when it comes to partners, just in general, and our list, I was thinking about, I've said this a million times before, I know, but Dean Graziosi, one of the things he said is, you think that your list of everything that you're going to do with life, that's going to determine your success. But it's the thing you don't suspect that making the list of the things you're not going to do often will do a lot more for you than the list of things you are going to do. And I was just thinking about, we were talking about your list of things you want in your partner, but maybe also putting things in there like, this is the list of the things that really matter. And this is the list of traits that are like, hey, maybe this is, I think they're going to have it. But at the end of the day, if they don't, this is not a deal breaker.
Yes,
So the
absolutely.
list of things that are not deal breakers could be helpful too.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Guada.
Yeah, so this is actually good. How that knowing that can be used to hurt somebody, and it just reminds me of something that came up for me like probably 2 weeks ago, and I don't know what it is. It was more like it reminds me of the word that I came up with, and it's landmine. And as far as knowing what it is for yourself and just kindly sharing that with somebody, so like, hey, this is, I mean, I kind of love how that came up. It sounds bad because like, hey, if you go in this territory, that it might trigger me, or it might have this effect, or it might hurt me, right? To the point where I was like, okay, I might pull back my energy, or just kind of retract, I guess. And so, yeah, so that one has stuck with me, and this kind of reminds me of that, which is actually good to remember how you could, yeah, how that could affect you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Mark.
Yeah, a theme that's been coming up this week is narcissism and narcissists. And Holly triggered an insight, thank you, Holly, that maybe one of the ways, especially maybe in a family dynamic, that narcissists can control you is by, is by manipulating you to need words of affirmation or something, or any of the love languages, and then denying
Yes.
those things, they create the need and then they exploit the need by starving you of the thing that you need from them. And maybe that, and then like I said, this just opened up a whole thing in my head about how narcissists operate, and they can create that need and then starve you of it to manipulate you to get what they want, which is control.
Right up there with gaslighting.
Thanks, Holly.
Yes. And that brings us right up to the top of the hour. We managed to get all three in. And there was one little more thing that I was going to toss in there. Trying to decide if I should or not. Fine. And this will probably offend a couple of people. And that's okay, because I'll keep it as comedic as possible. But I believe it was, I should have written his name down, the comedian, talking about guy talk and the amount of words that women use on a daily basis and the amount of words that men use on a daily basis. And understanding the difference in the dynamics of how we tell stories and stuff. Bill Engvall, that's who it was, yes. And he talked about how a guy can come home, walk in the house and go, "Hey, I just heard Steve's getting a divorce." And the wife was like, "Oh my gosh, what? Well, what happened? What's the story? What's going on?" He's like, "Steve's getting a divorce." "Well, there's got to be more to that. I mean, that stuff doesn't just happen." He goes, "I know Steve is getting a divorce." 2 days later, his wife comes home. "Oh my gosh, I finally figured it out. Okay, so but when Steve was in 5th grade, he met this girl named Molly, and they got to be really good friends. And then in 11th grade, Molly moved away, and they hadn't talked to each other for a long time. And well, now you know that Steve and his wife, they've been on and off and on and off, and and it was all about that Sally girl, whatever. And they thought that was over, but then Molly found Steve on Facebook, and then they started talking and everything, and and now Steve's wife found out about Molly, and then they got in a fight, and now they're getting a divorce. And he looks at her and he goes, "So Steve's still getting a divorce?" "Well, yeah. That's all I needed to know." Guy talk, girl talk. How do I know this is true? Many years of bartending. You ladies describe stuff in certain ways that are way different than men. Just is. And I can't go into the other details because this is a family show. And you ladies know it's true. That brings us 3 minutes over, and it's time to switch gears. For those of you watching for the very first time, watching the recording for the very first time, this is where we turn it over to the people on the call. It's open mic, open platform. Anybody gets to ask a question. I let those on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. Usually we start the show off with the polite chipmunks who are kindly waiting for another person because they don't want to jump in and be first. But I would like someone to jump in and be first. Who's got a question, a topic to start off tonight? Let's go. Okay, come on. I know you guys have questions. Mark, thank you.
Ahem. I need to shut up and listen more. But I'm trying. I'm trying to help some clients, like I said, continuing what I said earlier, dealing with a narcissistic individual in their lives, you know, and they're looking for a way to, now that the narcissist has accomplished their goals and alienated them from their siblings and other people, other people within the family. How would you guys go about, advising a client to, how to get a, try to mend or undo all the work that the narcissist has done to, destroy the family dynamic as far as this person's concerned. They've been alienated and isolated, and I'd like some input as to strategies that you might want, to advise them to do to, they want to build, they want to undo all the damage the narcissist has done. So what would you tell them?
Great topic, great question. Hands are flying up. Lenora.
My first question mark was, are they still with the narcissist? Are they still staying in the relationship, or are they going separate ways?
It's one they can't get away from because it is the one of the core nuclear people. We'll say the dad or the mom is the narcissist, and the person feels alienated from other people because the narcissist has already done their level best to alienate them, and they wanted some suggestions on how to undo the damage.
I would definitely, at least for me, I would start building rapport again with the other people that they're wanting to connect with. So let's say it's the mom and there's a sister and a brother. I would go out of my way to have conversations with them. And I would also, for me personally, I would continue to do a lot of personal work, because certain things that the brother and sister might say can still activate that person, and they need to build up their boundaries as well as their inner strength to be able to have conversations with other people, to keep their composure, and to also still defend themselves.
Great answer. Holly.
Great topic. And great answer. So a couple things that popped to my head. So first of all, I want to make it clear, not every situation is the same. So I'm kind of doing a decision tree on this. But the first thing I would say is, when you're dealing with a narcissist who's really good at manipulation, in about 50% of cases, your relationship with the person you think that's destroyed is actually not as destroyed as you think it is. Because one of the good things manipulators love to do is, make you think that everybody hates you, make you think that everybody's cut off from you, make you think, and that's sometimes an illusion. Sometimes it's not. And we'll get into that side of the decision tree too. But so the first step is just saying, don't necessarily buy into the illusion without testing it. The second thing that I would put in there is, keep in mind that the narcissist game operates on energy. And so if you start, descending into squabbling, defending yourself, even if you're 100% right, all you're doing is feeding energy to the narcissist's game. And so keep in mind that they are also being manipulated by a narcissist. So, I'm about to say this is easy, but learn not to take it all personally. So if, I think they call it triangulation. If the narcissist is causing all sorts of problems and they're causing, say it's mom and you want to have a relationship with your brother, don't criticize mom in front of your brother. Don't make him take sides. Don't blame him. So if, say he has a past where mom made him say bad things about you, because that's one of the games narcissists like to play. Don't feed into his shame cycle. Don't don't force him to take sides. Don't force him to apologize. You may want that apology in the depths of your soul. You may feel like you need that to, feel justified. But you have to remember, part of what mom's game is, if it's an apology situation, is to make him feel so guilty that he doesn't feel comfortable being with you. So the next thing I would say is make sure you prioritize building your own support system that's healthy. Because if you're still relying on, now you still, the door is always open with brother. Maybe it's even open with mother if she wants. And this is just, using that example of mother's the narcissist. The door may be open there if they ever come in with a genuine apology and they come in showing they're willing to respect boundaries and they show that they've had personal progress and growth and, but I am not going to rely on that toxic situation to feed me, to support me. Because if I'm able to go to people I actually trust and I have a good friend system and I get, maybe it's a good spouse, a good, whatever it is, focus on the areas you can control so that you are never relying on that other support system to feed you. You are there, you could stand in that toxic situation and be silent when they try to, be silent is a big one, I'd say, when you're dealing with a narcissist. The thing that throws them off their game more than anything is not reacting. Because they're, like I said, even if you're justified, and you always will be, that's how narcissists play the game. They put you in a situation where you get blamed for something you didn't do, or you get blamed for something that was actually a good thing, whatever it is, and they're trying to put you in a place. So something that comes up a lot, I think I've told the story before in martial arts, where I was doing a bunch of stuff in a class and I was not getting any results. And then somebody pointed out that I was out of structure. And I got back in structure and all of a sudden everything started working. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you need to stay in emotional structure. The second they get you out of structure in any way, shape, or form, you're at their mercy. And I will also say, don't ever go into the situation thinking you're immune to it. I made that mistake a couple times. Poor TJ had to bail me out of one of those, where I had to send the SOS, help me please text, because the narcissist has me in their power. When it comes to a narcissist, you are not going to win the game. You're not going to win their approval. You're not going to win an apology. So you can't go to them. You need to have your own support system that's going to give you everything you need. And you need to have very healthy boundaries that, we talk about. I said this one before, but Matthew Hussey talks about when you're doing boundaries, be sweet in your tone and ruthless with your actions. So when you're talking to brother, if mother tries to come in, you just shut that relationship down, but let brother know, hey, I'd like to talk to you, but I'm going to talk to you later when it's a better situation. And you don't necessarily have to get personal about it. It can't be like, oh, because nasty mother's in here pulling her old narcissist game. You don't have to say those words, but you could just say, hey, brother, I love you, but I'm a little overwhelmed right now. I'll call you tomorrow. And then, leave the situation. The best thing you could do with the narcissists themselves is have healthy boundaries. And, there are going to be times you have to be around them sometimes, depending on your relationship with them. But you don't need to multiply that extra, if that makes sense. Because the longer you're in their sphere of influence, the greater chance they have of getting to you, of finding one of your buttons to push, of getting you out of structure. And just, so, making sure you have that. And also, the other key with narcissists, I'd say, trust time. It may take a year, it may take a decade, it may take a couple decades. But people always see narcissists for who they are. They can't play the long game because at some point they get under everybody's skin. And so if you're willing to forgive and keep the door open and give them time, they almost always come around, the person who's been alienated, assuming that it's not an illusion in the first place, which often it is. Often they are just waiting for you to wake up and see that you are being played by the narcissist. And your support system's going to be right there for you anyway. So it just depends. It depends on how healthy your support system is. I mean, the other people are. And if they're not that, once again, don't shame them for it. They're human. They're growing too, especially if this started as kids. They were little defenseless kids that were just trying to survive. But yeah, so those would be my first advice.
Thank you.
Stuff. What I wanted to add to that is training, knowledge. the more people understand what a narcissist sounds like, looks like, what they do, how they act, what weaknesses are, all the above, the more people understand narcissists, the easier it becomes for them to know who they're dealing with and how it's affecting them. The other thing is, as Holly pointed out, time is a really good deal when dealing with narcissists. Getting away from them for a while, doing a fresh start, especially if they're already alienating somebody from a certain group, with that knowledge of what narcissists are, what they look like, being certain that the new group doesn't have narcissists in it. Training them what to look for to make sure that they don't go out and instantly attract more narcissists because of familiarity. And if they can get in with a group of non-narcissists and see what that healthy environment feels like, smells like, sounds like, all the above, then when they have to go back into the arena, it's much easier for them to go, wow, this is what I've been dealing with. And it makes their armor a lot stronger. You can also teach them protective empathy. This program probably goes back how many generations? Okay, fine. It stops with me. I will not continue this narcissistic trait in our family. And if they can be that example, at some point, the siblings look at the contrast of the product of narcissism that broke away and came back and is a lot more desirable to be around. And again, sometimes it'll take time, especially when it's family. They're so used to that little click, but let your client understand it's okay to stop that trait with them. They can be the black swan, but the more they study, the more they know. Once they've come to you, tell them to get their PhD in narcissism so that they can have the proper defense and know how to properly battle those people. Does that help?
Absolutely, guys. Thank you. I was relating to that, that, sometimes, and this is just, again, a story I heard about, again, and I was thinking about a concept that if and it happens very rarely, but if you have a mother who is a narcissist, the only way the children get love or attention is, like I said, they don't form the normal bond between mother and child. Basically the child becomes an ornament on the tree of mom. Doesn't happen it's very kind of rare, but it does happen. And the only way they get love is if, because if they do well, the narcissist, it's because of my influence that the child has, got made honor roll. They take credit for anything that the child does, and then they reject the child if they're, they do anything less than positive. So they hold that as a, a hook to for their love and approval, because they become ornaments on the tree of mom. That was just something I have that locked and loaded, but it happens very rarely.
Yeah. Lenora.
Love that saying, Mark. Oh my gosh. That was ornament. Oh my gosh. Excellent. Absolutely love that. I will add, as this person is navigating a very, 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 very new social landscape for them, also work on apologizing, especially when holding a boundary, because I have seen people, and I was so one of them, and I'm definitely not anymore, but I see it now because I'm so aware of it, of holding a boundary and being able to defend yourself. And then after the dial down, after you calm down, I'm sorry, I didn't mean what I said. I could have said it differently. Stop saying sorry.
Bing, 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 bing.
They can talk to you and say, okay, I could have probably said that differently. It's different. But don't go back to the narcissist or the source of wherever there was that breakdown, and apologize for standing up for yourself.
Yes.
They can learn from it, they can grow from it, they can change their words, they can absolutely expand from it. But every time there is an I'm sorry from to the narcissist, you'll watch the cycle repeat again because the person didn't get the lesson.
Yes. 100%. I'm so glad you shared that. And to add to it, it's understanding the difference between, are they speaking with you or at you? Are they bringing things up to attack you or out of habit? And also let them understand there will be a tsunami of attack when the narcissist realizes that they're starting to change and that they're learning how to step away. Because that narcissist, especially when it's in a tribal area, family, work, things of that nature, now you're a threat to their authority, their narcissistic position on high. There will be a tsunami of attack to try and get you back in line.
Did narcissist ever apologize? Just a question that came up when Lenora was talking. And if they do, are they super narcissists because they can use the apology to manipulate you? I don't know.
Yes.
Am I going to? I'm gonna go. It depends, especially if so. To whom, in my very personal experience, I've had to watch my voice because there's so much energy going on when you're in the middle of trying to stand up for yourself that my voice would start to waver, and I was doing my best to not have it shift. And in the ongoing disagreement, as I believe I was on the winning side of the disagreement, I got comments like, "Well, you're just too smart." Like,
Yep.
what do I do with that? It's just like, oh, okay, or you'll have won the battle, but they'll still come in with a hook of something else. So to have that person understand on repeat, and it's still something that I will chant for the rest of my life. I have to accept them where they are. I can't change them. I can only change how I feel about the situation or about that person or about the comment or about what it is. That's the only thing I can do. And that's why it works so well to be able to hear the voices in your head, know who they are, recognize who they are, and be able to look at your own thoughts and go, okay, what's another way that I can look at this? Because if I can't look at it a different way, I will spiral into mental fights all on my own on a regular Tuesday. So it is something that is an evolution of a person. And it's not just like, one day I just decided not to care. Like, it didn't happen for me like that. So
Exactly. And listen closely to the apology if they offer one. Fine. I'm so sorry that I'm such a terrible parent that I took care of you all these years and I'm still not good enough. That I provided you with food and clothing and all the above, and my love is not good enough for you. I'm so sorry. Well, thanks for the almost kind of apology thing, whatever that was. Holly.
Completely agree with everything that everybody else is saying. I will say too, I've always said that narcissists come with different levels of talent for manipulation. And the talented ones, they have, like you said, they use the apology as manipulation. And it can be the examples we've been getting of, it's not a sincere one and it's one that's supposed to make you feel guilty of, like they're talking about all the sacrifices they made for you and them putting up with you. That's a big one. They always love to say how they put up with you in some way, whether they're saying it in those words or not. But a truly talented narcissist goes through the love bombing phase. And in the love bombing phase, they make what sounds like a genuine apology. But the key is that it's not going to last. It's only lasting long enough because they know they have to go through the love bombing phase to keep you on the hook. And it's also what allows them to gaslight you even more because you get a genuine apology from somebody. And then you go through all the times when they were not apologizing to you. You're like, well, I must have really done something bad if they didn't apologize to me that time and they're apologizing to me this time. It must be me. There's a really toxic song out there that sometimes comes on the radio that has a line in there. It says, I apologize even though I know it's lies. And that just, for me summarizes the narcissist. It's, they beat you up, they get drunk, this is a very common pattern with some of them. They get drunk, they beat their partner up. The police get called, they're referred to all sorts of support system. They're told they're supposed to leave. All their family members tell them to leave. And now they're in the I'm going to leave mode. So now they got to go into love bombing mode. And they apologize profusely. They bring home flowers. They, they shower them with love. And that is all part of that manipulation, part of that I'm keeping you on the hook. And it's part of the gaslighting too, because it's me telling you that when you think I'm being unreasonable, when you think I'm not apologizing, you're going to remember this moment. And you're going to say, oh, no, they are capable of an apology. Oh, no, they are capable of caring about my feelings. Oh, no, so not all narcissists could do that. Some narcissists, ever apologizing is going to show weakness. But the really, really talented ones not only apologize, they will make an art of it. They're really, really good at it. And it seems genuine in the moment. So it's not just, can you apologize in the moment? It's the question is, are you consistent with it? Because I had one of those people in my life at one point, and the very same thing they apologized for before, a week later, they're not apologizing for. And it's like, wait a minute, it's the same thing. Why was it that you were capable of saying you were wrong on that same thing, but now all of a sudden I'm the one that's wrong on that exact same event? So, yeah. Yeah. Are they capable of doing it? Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking two types of sorry. Sorry I hurt you. I'll never do that again. Or sorry I got caught.
Yes.
And colleague of mine was we were talking about this last week, and he reminded me of part of the diagnosis, and actually it illustrates the vulnerability of narcissists. And they don't have many, but they always have to be right. And while that may be considered a strength by somebody, I looked at it and said, that's where they're vulnerable. They have to be right.
Yes. Great topic. Anybody else got anything? Holly.
So that reminded me of something else. The only other thing that I will say a narcissist always responds to is healthy boundaries. And if enough people around them have healthy boundaries, that even I think there's a chance they could change. The problem is they always are almost always able to find another victim.
Yes.
It's so the other thing is I think a lot of people say, well, I love my mother. I love, whoever it is. And you have to remind yourself the loving thing you could possibly do is have healthy boundaries with them.
Yep.
Every time you give in to them and you try to say that they're right and you try to say, you try to defend their behavior, you try to justify their behavior, you try to just give in to their behavior. That is enabling, as we were just that word that Laura used earlier. That is not love. That's enabling. If you truly love the narcissist in your life, the best possible thing you can ever do is have healthy boundaries with them. And if you ever feel guilty for having healthy boundaries, know that is because you are responding to a narcissist that's been in your life that's tried to guilt you and shame you for having healthy boundaries. Because someone who truly cares about you wants you to have healthy boundaries and is going to thank you for having healthy boundaries with them. I've said it before, like my sister and I were discussing, she asked me if I'd be willing to come and help her out one day. And I said no. And she's like, thank you for saying no. Because that means that when you say yes, I know it's a real yes and you're not doing it out of guilt.
Yep.
So
100%.
Smart people.
So I got another question, and I don't want to hear no. Somebody got another question or topic to bring up. I don't want to hear no. Time's ticking, kids. Who's got something? Lenora.
The lovely Fran came on.
Yes.
Hi, Fran. So there are some people on YouTube that are watching, and they loved what you all had shared. So that's what they were messaging me. Change. How do you notice change in your life? I used to think, and I know I've said this like 1,000 times, I used to think that, Looney Tunes, there was going to be like this big, huge portal that opened and I would step through the portal and boom, whole big change. What do you notice? How do you know things are changing in your life? What do you look for? What are your thoughts? Hi, Elijah. You look like a ninja. Yes, I know your favorite.
Hear that or a monk? I'm waiting for the. Oh.
There, he's got the halo behind him.
Okay.
Dominus vobiscum. My
This
priest is smarter than
actually-
yours.
This actually is a photo taken by a friend of mine who's a pilot that she took.
This is beautiful.
At work.
Very cool. Okay, who's got an answer for Lenora? Holly.
Well, I've got a couple answers. My first answer is this is where journaling could be a really amazing thing. And then taking time to go back and read your journal.
Yes.
And so there have been many times I've gone back and read my journal. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have changed so much since, a year ago or 2 years ago. And I didn't have a clue because, I think my question last week about we're all about relative, right? So I remember how I probably was yesterday, the day before, but going back 5 years, I just assume I'm basically the same person I was then. And it's not until I get into those journals that I really start to notice the difference. Another one is building a tribe around you who gives you that kind of feedback that's in tune with you. Now, I will say that's not quite as powerful because they are also having the same experience that you are, that they're growing with you, and their memories of who you were 5 years ago may not be that accurate either. So I still am going to say journal, and go back and read your journals, which a lot of people never take the time to do. So you can't get the insights unless you actually read it. And also if you journal with intention. So if you want to track your progress, go through and say, these are the things that are my top values today. These are the things that are my top challenges today. And these are the things I'm hoping to learn. And then if you come back 5 years and you're like, oh, I was hoping to learn that. I did learn that. And now it's like something I feel like I've always known in my entire life. Or, these were my top values. They weren't bad values, but you know what? I've improved my values. I think I have a set of values that's even more valuable than what I had then. And these are the things that were bothering me back then. And once again, this is, writing for investigation, not to like manifest it. So you're not like putting down all your challenges and like, I hope to make these bigger kind of situation. So also make sure you're putting plenty of positive things on that list. But, just little things that may not seem like a big deal. But when you read them, you will realize instantly how much growth you've had and that it is a big deal for you.
Great answer. Fran.
Well, I think my answer or my comments are coming from a different perspective, because change happens whether we know it or not. Change happens every moment of every day, and it's our choice of how we change or whether we behave in similar patterns or different patterns, and that's choice. And what changes can be small, they can be enormous. So I'm guessing that you're thinking about big changes, but every moment we change or we're dead. If we don't change, we're dead. So it's just a matter of how you change and thinking of starting a chain of maybe little changes that will lead to a bigger result. But, change is happening. So, you have to know the way you know if you're changing is if you're alive. So that's my cut on it. Thanks.
Great answer. Mark.
I'm going to dovetail into something that Holly said about rereading your journal. If you look back, whether you're journaling or not, as to who you used to be, and you feel that feeling of gratitude, Lenora, for who you're becoming more and more every day, you've changed.
Great insights, guys. Thank you. Holly, when you said go back and reread journals, I was like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah, big time. The other nice thing is going back and hanging around old tribes. Like class reunions are a great one. Have you changed? Yeah, go to a class reunion and notice how different everybody is. And another way is defining what change are you looking for in a certain amount of time. There's all sorts of changes. There's fitness change, which again, keeping a journal, a log, photographs are a great way to show change. I deal with a number of clients that are trying to lose weight, and it always cracks me up. The reaction when I tell them, first thing I want you to do, weigh yourself today, and then take your scale and go hide it in the garage for a year. They're like, what? Wait, what? I'm like, decide what you want your body to look like in a year and target those areas, because I've had too many of them go, I've been doing this and I did this and that and I still weigh the same. I'm like, oh yeah? Do your pants fit the same? Well, no, my pants are looser. I'm like, so you replaced fat with lean muscle. I've been doing this thing that did, and I don't feel like I've changed at all. Remember that video that I told you to make 6 months, a year ago? play that once. Wow, I'm a whole lot better. Yes. Elijah.
Morning.
Morning.
So this may not answer the question. It might be something completely different, but I think it's close enough to kind of be in the same area, ballpark, whatever. And it's about unfreezing things. The technical term would be denominalizing, but really it's unfreezing things. And what it is for me, like, not only in terms of the pictures you see in your mind, adding movement and turning them more into movies, but more than that, what really worked for me was changing the words that I had been using into ing words, words that end in ing. So instead of thinking about the decision or what had been decided, I was more focused on what am I deciding now, or a relationship and whether it was good or bad. How would I like to be relating to this person now? And the funny thing is, when you put an ing, when you convert a word back into ing, it becomes an ongoing present tense progressive process. And if it's a present progressive process, then you are still in control. And maybe you can notice in those moments when you are in control how much you've changed from when you felt out of control before. So turn your words back into ing words, even words that don't necessarily have an ing, you know. You can put ing on the end of any word and kind of turn it back from being a frozen concept into an active process. And that's really where the power is when something is, you know, very much now and happening, deciding, taking, actioning, planning, moving. Therein lies the potential to spin on a dime and choose your direction and go any which way you want to go, to be becoming the person who you are wanting to be being, you know? Like, I think for me it made a very big difference in noticing how I was being in those moments when I was controlling my destiny, you know? So, yeah.
I love that, the unfreezing with the ing words. That's great. And I mean, we're all moving our goalposts all the time. And that's why the journaling is so great, to see how we've deceived ourselves by moving our goalposts and our expectations, and to accept and appreciate that we're all works in progress all of the time, that change is just continuous. That's the way it is. And whether you notice it or don't notice it, you're still changing. But if you want to notice the changes, you either make the changes deliberate and become conscious of your daily tiny choices, which lead to much bigger progressions. We like looking down a telescope, that if you point it in one direction, you have a field of vision of that much. And the bigger the telescope, the further you look, the more you have to cut out to focus on that distance goal. So you thinking of telescopes while you're setting your goals and making the small, tiny changes and being conscious of that is another great path to change, in my opinion. Thank you.
Good answer. Holly.
And so much wisdom. Sorry, I'm like writing. Um, so another thought I had too is uh as important as changes, one of the big themes of my life right now is I think there's a balance of focusing on change, but also focusing on who you already were that was good. And one of the thoughts that came to me, a lot of times we talk about in face reading, getting back to your original face. Who was it that I was born when I was pure, hadn't gone through all of these, hadn't been dinged, hadn't been told I wasn't enough, getting back to that energy and reclaiming it because it's been shamed out of us, but I'm going to reclaim it now. But it's a pendulum. You could go too far one side, too far to the other side. So you could be so focused on, I'm not enough, I need to change. I'm not enough, is it I need to change because I'm capable of changing and I'm excited to change because, I'm going to the next step? Or is it I need to change because I'm not good enough? I need to change all of those parts of me that are not okay. But on the flip side, I don't want to just hang on to who I was born as either, because I'm glad that I'm potty trained. I'm glad that I learned to drive. So I feel like that's kind of what a lot of life is gaining the wisdom and the change that life gives us that's actually good, but then also going back and honoring what was good that society tried to beat out of us as well. And so maybe going back, it's great to say, how have I changed? How have I become stronger? How have I become better? But also, when's the last time we took a moment to journal about who I was 5 years ago and how was she enough? How was she already enough? What beautiful things did she already bring to the world that are still inside of me? And I'm glad that I haven't lost them. I'm glad that I've been able to keep those and maybe amplify them. But she's the one who brought them to the plate in the first place.
Great stuff. Friend.
And I think returning to your real face, if you're really serious about big changes of who you feel you need to be, deep trans-identification process is so powerful if you want to go down that avenue. And being somebody who's done it a few times and it's made such a big difference to making me more the me I would like to be, and knowing there's so many other choices I could make, like, in the same way as what color shall I wear today? What clothing shall I put on today? And the deep trance identifications, if you like them, you can keep them and be the you that you would like to be. And even that choice of who you would like to be, it's continuously evolving. So enjoy the ride. But if you really want to see the big changes in who you are, deep trance identification is a really good stepping stone along the way.
Another great answer. Another one is look back at who you hung out with 5 years ago. Who is your tribe? In what direction is your tribe evolving towards? What are you talking about with the people you hang out with the most? That's all part of, it's one of the challenges and the blessings of moving to a completely new location, because people don't have an idea who you are. And you have to be conscious of who you bring to the new location. Who do you want to be there? The easiest person to be is the person that you were back then. The challenge is to be a new person, an evolved person, somebody that the people back there may not recognize for all the best reasons. Fran.
Another aspect that maybe we fail to look at so strongly is, how much do you want this? How much do you want to be that person? How much change are you ready for? Are you prepared to be uncomfortable to achieve your goal? As in, are you prepared to deal with some conflict along the way? If you really want it, it may be, as uncomfortable as shedding your skin and exposing your soft belly to other people or doing things that you're really uncomfortable doing. And that also is a big marker of change. How much do you want it? Have you got the guts to get there? If not, it may be better just to do it more gently. It's choice. It doesn't matter. We're all on this journey. And whether we change or we don't change, we are so fortunate to have this body to move around in and just be. And we're so focused on changing and changing the world around us. But sometimes just stopping and enjoying what you got's really cool.
Absolutely.
You know, there was a time when you didn't know that you wanted the things you want now. And there was a time when you didn't even know that the things you want now even existed. And change kind of happens in leaps, my teacher said. He said it happens in leaps, sometimes very tiny leaps, sometimes big, huge, giant quantum leaps. And someone could say something, or something could happen in an instant, change your whole reality, you flip your world upside down. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be amazing. Someone could say, I'm pregnant, and turn your whole world upside down. Sometimes in the most wonderful way, sometimes in a very complicated way. Right? And really, just kind of being open to allowing life to happen, if you like, and being okay, knowing, so I didn't know there was this color system. I know Holly talks about it sometimes. There was this color system called luminescence, and I didn't know it existed, and I had no idea. And I knew I'd heard of hypnosis and NLP, but it wasn't until I got to my first ever hypnosis training that during a segue and a squirrel, if you like, that the teachers started talking a little bit about luminescence, and then suddenly it became like, hey, I really want to learn about that. And I didn't even know it existed. And so some of the things that you end up learning and enjoying integrating into who you are, and then even sharing with other people who also don't know and kind of spreading the word, they're right around the corner, and you might not have discovered them yet. And sure, the point I'm trying to get to is the vast majority of people in this world don't like the unknown, but every single good thing that ever happened to you came from the unknown. Every single good thing that ever happened came from what you didn't know. And what you don't know still, because we just don't have enough time and life is short, what you don't know will always be more than what you do know. And so there's always this huge potential of discovering something wonderful in a moment. So just be open and trust yourself to, handle yourself and handle life, and things will be okay. That's kind of, a thing. I think a lot of people are afraid of unknown. There's even that saying, I hear it all the time. I hear better the devil you know than the devil you don't. And I'm like, really? Are you sure? Because I know the devil I know, and I know he's one mean MF. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm ready to try something new and different. Because I went through my own personal hell, and I didn't like it there. I'm trying to kind of move past that and beyond that. And as Fran was saying, you're changing already all the time anyway. So, why not be open and a bit more accepting and a bit more willing to see what happens. Let the chips fall where they may. You know? I hope it
And
makes
that
sense.
sure does. And the other thing is, people talk about desiring change, but they sometimes don't understand that some changes have far reaching consequences. Like if you suddenly lose a great deal of weight and reach this ideal body that you've always wanted, it's actually going to change not just how you are in the world, but how everybody perceives you. It's like dropping a pebble in the pond, that all the ripples are going to move out as a consequence from your change. So are you ready for that? It may not be what you expected, or it may be even better, but you don't know until you do it. And that's why a lot of people, I think, find change is quite uncomfortable. They've got their safe space. They know what the actions and reactions are going to be. But if you really do something drastically different, the whole world changes. It is like the world is your pond and you've dropped a pebble in it, and the ripples go on forever. So, be careful of what you wish for. You might just get it, and it might change everything. Change may be wonderful, or it may not be what you were expecting. But isn't that exciting?
The other thing to be very careful of, comparison. Be very careful of comparing yourself and your change to others. You don't know what they've had in place before you. Some people look at 100 days to change something and they're like, well, nothing's happened. Well, the other person was picking up 1 penny a day. And at 100 days, they had $1. Another person is sitting there trying to work their butt off, and 50 days, all of a sudden, bam, 50 cents lands in their lap. And they're like, well, but the amount of work I had to get this. And another person will work 100 days straight without seeing anything, and $1 shows up. And yet, if all three of them sat there and looked at each other going, well, I'm not changing like they are, I must be doing something wrong. Or they're doing, how come I don't have what they have? I'm working as hard as they are. And I've watched it too many times. People will let comparison rob them of their happiness, their progress, and their initiative to keep going because they think they should be farther ahead because somebody else did it quicker.
And you don't know that their life is actually better than yours when you look under the surface.
Yes, 100%.
And you don't know if it was quicker or not because both of you haven't died yet.
Yeah. And again, you don't know what kind of knowledge and abilities they had put in place before you both started the race. Mark.
Well, you said, 100 days, but the decision to change in itself is the change. So on day one, you are already changed. It becomes a quantum entanglement as you hang out with your tribe. You become more, and you move towards that. And yeah, it can be, alarming, scary, but when you make the decision, you started the process.
Yes. And change is going to happen whether you want to or not. We are always changing. Pick the change that you want. I know. I've had many changes in my life, a number of which I didn't really pick. They just happened. And I learned to roll with them. And I'm working even harder on picking out the outcome that I want. As long as change is inevitable, work on the outcome that you want. One of the things that changes all the time, time. Keeps a ticking away whether you want it to or not. And here we are at the top of the hour, 2 hours gone by just like that. Triple T number 168 in the books. Great stuff. Thanks to you guys. I appreciate you showing up. I will always say that I don't know how to create time to give it back to you. As soon as I do, you'll be the second one to know. But if I could, I would. So thank you so much for investing your precious commodity of time on this platform to help everybody else. I appreciate and love and adore all of you. For those of you out on YouTube, love you, Mom. And the rest of you, again, I couldn't do this without you. Well, I wouldn't. If it wasn't for you guys, literally, if I had to sit here all by myself and just yak into a camera and a mic, I would not be making 168 of these. So thank you so much. Take care of yourself. Have an amazing week. Live life to the fullest. Go for the best change possible. Keep an eye on the friends up here and the friend in the mirror and the gossip they're spreading, and find your complementary strengths. Love you guys. See ya.